Gold for right, 3 for Castillo, and Castro, of course, is going to be doing most of the catching now with Schneider on the DL.
Second start for Sheffield. He played right field the other day, and Jerry Manuel saying he'll probably start tomorrow as well.
He did play more left field, though, when he was with the Tigers the last couple of seasons.
And there is Sheff, who hit the historic home run last night, and he was greeted in heroic fashion by his teammates.
It was telling. It really was. Had a conversation with him today. I said, congratulations. I said, boy, you know what? You still have a lot to offer this team. He said, I know I do. Pretty good.
Ricky Weeks leads things off against Johan Santana. And Johan's first pitch is a fastball for a strike.
This will be the one guy he's going to have to watch out for, Gary. Weeks has had some success, even though it's albeit just a few at-bats.
4 for 7 with a couple of home runs against Santana, who struggled in his 2 starts against the Brewers last year. In fact, Johan is 3-2 lifetime against the Brewers, has not beaten Milwaukee since 2004. On the other hand, generally the Brewers provide a tonic every time the Mets see them. 1-1 to Weeks. And he misses with the fastball, 2-1. The Brewers moved from the American League to the National League in 1998. Since they came into the league, the Mets are 50-27 against Milwaukee. And you see Santana's numbers against the Brewers. And Weeks cues one foul, and it's 2-2.
Did you say 50-27? What's that, like 660 ball, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, early on, it was even worse than that. The Mets would win, 6 out of 7, 8 out of 9 from the Brewers every year.
Be interesting. His last start, Bob Davidson, the home plate umpire, had a very big strike zone. Jim Joyce, one of the best umpires in baseball behind the plate, but a little smaller strike zone by nature.
Hit to center field, and Beltran standing his ground. Retires Weeks, 1 away. So 1 out and nobody on. There you see best record against any National League team over the last 11 years since the Brewers switched leagues. They switched leagues when baseball expanded for the last time in 1998, with Tampa Bay joining the American League, Arizona the National League, and rather than have 2 odd-numbered leagues, somebody had to move, and it was the Brewers, to create a 16-team National League and a 14-team American League. Corey Hart hitting at .250. Back-to-back years of 20 homers and 20 steals for Hart, who's developed into a very solid player with Milwaukee.
Well, it's nice to be able to pencil in Johan Santana to start, but Jerry Manuel in the next day or two is going to have some decisions to make, Gary.
Well, he's made it clear Mike Pelfrey's not going to start tomorrow. Pelfrey feels as though he's good to go, but that forearm tendonitis is going to keep him out. The Mets have not yet announced who's going to take his place, but it's going to be somebody from the minor leagues, most likely Nelson Figueroa, and that means the Mets will have to make a player move. Hart swings and misses at the fastball, 2-2.
And Jerry, talking about it today, said in a perfect world you see this nice change up here from Santana. Sorry, I take that back. That's an inside fastball. In a perfect world, you want your 25 guys to be together for that first month, but times change and things change.
Struck him out. Santana relying on his fastball early, got that one to 94, and he fans Hart 2 away.
What I've liked about Santana since he's come off this knee surgery is that he will go along at 91, 92 to get strikes and to work the ball around the plate. When he gets ahead, he'll add 2 or 3 miles an hour. Very rare. There's a handful of pitchers that can do that.
So 2 out and nobody on. By the way, it should be noted, Mets wearing blue caps for the first time in their new home.
That's your favorite.
Well, it is the traditional look. Here's Ryan Braun. Hit the 3-run homer last night against Livan Hernandez that briefly turned the game around. Braun had gone without a home run over his first 35 at-bats of the year, and, he strained an intercostal muscle late last year and hurt it again during the WBC this spring. And there had been a lot of talk in Milwaukee that Braun was not able to get the kind of torque that he needed to hit the long ball, but I guess he proved last night he's just fine.
Well, 2 hitters, one in the American League, one in the National League, were accused of having big swings that they'd never make it as pros or not as good as everyone thought they were. Longoria and also Ryan Braun. Very similar swings. They have a long approach to the ball, but they're so quick through the through the hitting zone that it doesn't matter that their swing is a little long.
See, 2 years ago, he set a record for the highest slugging percentage by a rookie in Major League history. Last year, his second straight 30-plus home run year. Only Albert Pujols has done that his first 2 years, other than Ryan Braun. And Santana misses low, 3-1. Well, Longoria's off to a pretty good start in his second year, too.
What's he have? 6 home runs already?
Tampa Bay's been struggling. They won last night. Ben Zobrist did a pinch hit grand slam to help them beat the White Sox, but they are 5-6 to begin the year. And the changeup in for a strike, 3-2.
It's going to be interesting for them because everything really felt right for them last year with their young play from their rookies, from their young players, from their pitchers. Their bullpen was almost unhittable the last 2 months of the season.
You know, you could really say the same about the Brewers. They had everything go right for them last year, except for firing their manager with 2 weeks to go. 3-2 from Santana, lined into center field, a base hit for Ryan Braun. So a 2-out single, and the Brewers have the first base runner of the game with Prince Fielder coming up.
Very interesting, right? Last night, the same pitch thrown there by Hernandez last night on that inside part of the plate. Braun pulled it for a 3-run home run. You ratchet up the speed at 10 more miles an hour, it only ends up being a base hit.
So here's Fielder. It's been a struggle for Prince early on in the year, just 1 for his last 15. And as we saw in Santana's last start, Delgado playing a little bit off the bag in front of the runner.
Which tells me that they must have a signal that Santana will let him know when he's coming over to the bag so Delgado can get a nice jump off that first base.
Braun is a guy who occasionally will steal a base, but you don't think of him as a big base stealer, and I wonder whether they would play the same way with a guy who's prone to steal.
No, if they had maybe Ricky Weeks on there, he'd have to stay on the base.
1-1 to Fielder, and he takes the fastball strike, 1-2.
And sometimes it's not only the runner. Ricky Weeks could be at first base. You might be able to do that only because Prince Fielder's up. And a lot of times when you have your big slugger, you might want to give him a shot, not only to through that hole, but also give him a shot to hit the long ball.
Fielder 50 home runs 2 years ago. 34 last year. And Santana just missed 2-2.
Santana with an interesting look into home plate umpire Jim Joyce. He's calling that ball up. If you were watching our broadcast the other night, that's the same pitch that Carlos Delgado struck out on from Heath Bell to end the game.
Santana likes his fastball early. 2-2 to Fielder. Struck him out with the changeup. Santana with 2 strikeouts in the inning, and the Brewers are done in the top of the first. So Johan strings up a 0. Now the Mets will go to work against Giovanni Gallardo in the bottom of the first. Daniel Murphy gets the day off. Gary Sheffield in left field. That moves Castillo up to the 2-hole. Ramon Castro starting his 3rd straight game with Brian Schneider now on the disabled list. And they'll be facing the 23-year-old right-hander Giovanni Gallardo.
Well, he's 1-1. One good start, one bad start. He hit a home run off Randy Johnson to get himself a win in San Francisco. This is one of those young and up-and-coming pitchers. Could be a superstar in this game. He's had some fits and starts, though, stops and starts because of a couple of knee injuries, some arm injuries.
Reyes had 3 hits last night, up to 286 on the year, and he takes a curveball outside. Mets had their offense rolling last night, but they lacked the big hit until Sheffield homered in the 7th, and then Castillo drove in the winner in the 9th. Line the other way, and Reyes gets the Mets started with an opposite field base hit.
Boy, you just sense that Reyes is starting to see the ball a little better, starting to understand what he's got to do, and hear from that drill in spring training. Hit the breaking ball the other way. That's what Reyes did right there. Nice hitting.
A lot of people were wondering about that drill. 80 curveballs in a row, hit them all the other way, but we've seen so much benefit from that, particularly from Church early in the season. So here's Castillo, who had the game-winning hit last night. 6-game hitting streak, 11 for 21 over the 6 games. Moved up to the 2-hole today after hitting 8th for the first part of the year, and he takes ball 1.
Castillo, of course, he said 11 for his last 21. Jason Kendall's doing the catching today. Caught 149 games last year. Threw out almost 40% of would-be base runners, would-be stealers. So, real test for Reyes.
That's why he caught 149 games. As Castillo bluffs the bunt, takes ball 2. That was the most starts by a major league catcher since 1982, when Gary Carter caught over 150 games. In fact, Kendall started the last 34 games of the season. Didn't hit much in September, but they felt they needed his defense.
Well, what they really enjoyed is you know, you think of a catcher's defense, you think, well, he blocks the ball well, he throws out base runners. They wanted him to call game. That was the key. They had catchers there in the past that they had some battles with calling and having a game plan. Kendall has one.
2-0 to Castillo. Gallardo struggling with his command early, and he falls behind 3-0. Giovanni Gallardo burst on the scene a couple of years ago, winning 9 games. As you look at the Brewers defense.
Brewers defense, camera with 3 gold gloves in center field. Bronson's moving from 3rd. No errors. Kendall, we said 149 games. 45 doubles by Hart in right field.
Taking all the way, Castillo watches a strike. 2 years ago, Gallardo made 17 starts for the Brewers, went 9-5, and going into the season last year, they figured he'd be a mainstay in their rotation, but he hurt his left knee during spring training, had some surgery, came back in April, and then hurt his other knee covering a play at first base on the 1st of May, and missed virtually the entire season. Came back the last week of the year to make a start as the Brewers were going after the wild card, and then made 2 appearances in the postseason against the Phillies. Did not allow an earned run in 7 innings of work in the postseason. Three and 2 to Castillo. Reyes runs, and Castillo takes strike 3 called. The throw by Kendall, not in time. Reyes steals the base. Castillo thought for sure it was ball 4, and Ken Macha's going to come out and argue the call at second. So 2 people unhappy with the calls on that play. Castillo thought it was a ball, and Macha thought that Reyes was out stealing.
Castillo's was right down the middle. He shouldn't have an argument, and he thinks here that Reyes was tagged before his hand got to the bag, and I believe that Macha has a good complaint. Good sweep tag by Ricky Weeks. Let's see if he gets him on the shoulder before the arm gets there.
So Reyes has his 3rd stolen base of the season. 1 out, and now David Wright comes to the plate. Well, David is now hit in 10 straight games to start the season, and this has been something of a touchstone of his career. In 2006, David hit in the first 8 games of the year. In 2007, he hit in the first 14 games of the year, and this year now the first 10.
Let's take a look if his arm gets to the bag. On the shoulder now. His hands aren't there. It's interesting. Sometimes Reyes will slide where both of his hands are on both sides of the bag, and really it's almost his chest that hits the bag first.
Brian Runge, the second base umpire, called him safe. Wright 2 for 3 last night, was on base 4 times, and he swings and misses the fastball. Gallardo keeping it away from him, 1-1. David hitting at .342 over the first 10 games of the year. And despite the fact that he really doesn't look great right now. Imagine the numbers he'll put up when he starts getting it going. 1-2 to Wright.
Well, I feel personally that, and I haven't talked to David about this, so you don't know how he feels, but, there's so much talk here, and I don't care who you are. You hear it after a while. And to me, he doesn't always look like the same hitter with runners on base that he does when runners aren't on base. I feel like he just presses just a little more. He feels like he's going to be one of the leaders of this club, and he always wants to come through in those tough situations.
You know what the vagaries of baseball are like?
Yeah.
Remember what happened the last time Santana pitched? Mets faced Josh Johnson, and he pitched a complete game 5 hitter, beat him 2-1. Johnson's facing the Nationals today in Washington. Nats have 5 runs in the first inning against him.
Unbelievable.
Austin Kearns with a home run. Reyes dancing off second, and Wright takes low, 2-2.
It's pretty funny you say that, because I know you're like me. I was looking at the games today, who's kind of pitching, which ones to watch. I said, boy, I bet you Johnson, see if he has a shutout through 4 or 5 today. Might get knocked out.
Not today. Delgado waiting on deck. Mets have scored 3 runs in the first inning each of the last 2 days. And the curveball misses, ball 3 to David Wright. Gallardo's got 2 different breaking balls.
He has a harder one that he throws for a strike, and then he's got that big overhand breaking ball. And they're both devastating to the right-handed hitter and the left-handed hitter, and he throws hard enough at 93, 94 miles an hour.
Gallardo, born in Mexico but grew up in Texas, 23 years old. 3-2. Another curve, and he missed high with it, ball 4, and the Mets have 2 men on. Well, it seems like Delgado is coming up with men on base in the first inning every day. And here he is again.
Well, that's how you get those kind of RBIs, is that you have people on base, but you also have to produce. Mr. Delgado has been producing, as he has a chat with Jim Joyce. Jimmy, of course, one of the veteran umpires, been around forever, so any veteran player will, of course, have a relationship with those older umpires.
And Jimmy was an American League umpire before the 2 leagues came together, so Carlos knew him from way back. Delgado with 13 runs batted in, tied for second in the league, 1 behind Albert Pujols. Yesterday, the Mets loaded the bases in the first inning, and Delgado made a bid for a grand slam, hit one to the warning track for a sacrifice fly that not only brought in the run, but moved the other 2 runners as well. He swings at the first pitch fastball and fouls it off. See what Carlos has done with runners in scoring position so far this year. 2 on and 1 out.
Just been a pleasure watching Delgado early in this season. Sort of taking what the pitcher's going to give him. When he makes a mistake, he's had a couple of those long home runs. But his at-bat was just as impressive last night against Seth McClung, taking that fastball away and driving it into the gap for a double.
Leading off the 9th inning and then scored the winning run. And Gallardo not able to throw that curveball for a strike, and the Mets right now just letting it go by. It's 1-1. Gallardo had a good start against the Giants his first time out, but got roughed up by the Reds on Monday. Gave up 7 runs in 5 innings. Only allowed 3 hits, but 2 of them were home runs. Hurt himself with 4 walks in that game. Good fastball in on him, 1-2.
Pitching coach, I believe, Bill Castro, who had a nice career with Milwaukee. He's out of their bullpen for those years in the 80s when they had those successful teams. The Brew Crew.
Reyes can't get too far from second. Hardy's right on top of him. And Delgado goes down swinging. So Gallardo strikes out Delgado, 2 down.
Well, this is probably the only hole that Delgado is showing right now. That ball, waster up, straight through on the inside corner. It's hard for him to cover that pitch. But we've seen, though, since he's gotten hot in the middle of last year, he's done a nice job of taking that pitch, not able to off Gallardo so far.
So now 2 out and 2 on, and Carlos Beltran the batter. Beltran 1 for 5 last night, and he takes a strike. So Gallardo unable to throw his curveball for strikes, so he's just throwing fastballs and spotting them perfectly to Delgado, and now that first pitch to Beltran. See that high on base percentage. Well, the Mets have 4 guys in a row in their batting order. Castillo, Wright, Delgado, and Beltran all over 400 with their on base percentage. 0-2 now to Carlos.
Well, I think scoring runs has not been a problem. I think the Mets offense is only going to get better. Really, it's just been kind of the inconsistent starting pitching that really has got them off to a 500 record. Once that turns around, that's when you can get on a little bit of a roll.
And the Mets have left a lot of runners on base in tight spots. They've already had 4 one-run losses. Tries to hold up. Beltran goes around, strike 3. Gallardo fans 3 in the inning as the Mets strand a pair. Johan Santana back to the mound for the second. Mets and Brewers no score.
Start to work his second inning of work here against the Brewers, and we saw on opening day Johan has a very interesting pregame ritual. It's this: the handshakes. He goes down the line, as you see him doing before today's game, and he has a different handshake for every player. Well, after opening day in Cincy, I asked him about it, and he said, well, he's actually been doing it for a couple of years. It happens to be the first time we have caught it on camera. And the amazing thing about it, as Reyes will have a backhand chance and retires Hardy 1 away, said the amazing thing about it now is that he has a different handshake for every guy. And I talked to Jeremy Reed for opening day. I said, well, what's your handshake? He said, I don't know, but I'm dying to find out. He hasn't told me yet. So Johan just went up to him and did a flip of the hair, kind of for his long hair. So he's very creative, guys, and you don't see many starting pitchers doing that before a start, that's for sure.
I don't know if you noticed in there, but he even did a handshake with Chad the bat boy.
That's right. That's right.
So he it's a lot of creativity. I would think that a pitcher coming in from the bullpen getting ready for a start is going over the game plan in his mind. Instead, he's got to do the pregame game plan first. Mike Cameron fouls it back.
What's the sign for overworked and underpaid? I mean, that's what it is for those poor bat boys.
I thought you were talking about Johan.
You know, he got to watch something that happened when Kevin was doing his report. He got the ball from David Wright, did Johan Santana, and he moved Jose Reyes into the hole. Right before he threw the first pitch to J.J. Hardy, he looked at him and he says, one step over in the hole. First pitch to J.J. Hardy. right in the hole, changeup. So just interesting how he is doing some directing.
Cameron lunging for that changeup. Castro back for a look, but it's out of play. 1-2.
We might only see less than 10 pop-ups to the catcher behind home plate this year.
Well, there's no room back there. It's 45 feet from home plate to the backstop, so you have to hit, as Bob Murphy would say, you have to hit it in the silo. I mean, those front row seats, and I've sat in them, not during a game, but you feel like you can shake hands with the home plate umpire as Cameron goes down looking, and Johan has his third strikeout of the afternoon. 2 away.
Well, great changeup here. Wants it outside. It stays on the inside part of the plate, but it doesn't matter. The speed fools Mike Cameron.
So 2 out and nobody on in the second. Now Bill Hall, the third baseman. Hall had 2 of the Brewers' 8 hits last night, and he's hit in 8 straight games to start the season. Hall trying to bounce back this year after a very difficult year with the bat. Really the last 2 years after his 35 home run season 3 years ago.
Well, I think he was feeling the repercussions of changing so many positions. He was at short. They moved him to center field. After center field, they had to bring him in to play third because Braun couldn't.
And he flares one the other way, and he's got the Brewers' second hit. So a 2-out single by Braun in the first, a 2-out single by Hall in the second. And now Jason Kendall will come to bat with a man on against Santana. Kendall really struggling early on, just 3 for 25 to start the season. We mentioned the workload last year, and the new manager, Ken Maka, is committed to playing Kendall less this season. And so that's why Mike Rivera started last night. Maka has Rivera as the personal catcher for Dave Bush, last night's starter. As Santana misses with the fastball, ball 1. That's a lot of games. You know what the most amazing number on catcher starts is? You know that Randy Hundley, Todd's dad, played for the Cubs before they had night baseball at Wrigley Field. And one year in the 60s, Randy Hundley started 160 games behind the plate.
Wow.
Playing day baseball. Can you imagine?
That's one memorable man, Gary.
Or something.
Well, they're going to need Ramon Castro to start playing every day with the injury to Brian Schneider.
All I can say is Randy must not have been enjoying Rush Street that year. All you could do is collapse in a tub. And Delgado playing off the bag there to take that throw.
That's interesting because an umpire could, if he wanted to, interpret that as not being on the bag, throwing to an unoccupied base.
You know, we went through this when the Mets had that operation with Bobby Valentine where Olerud would fake back and forth. Kendall pops it up and playable for Delgado in foul ground. That'll do it for the inning. But technically you are not supposed to throw to an unoccupied base from the rubber. Santana threw 2. No score. shot of lower Manhattan on a gorgeous spring afternoon.
I'm losing it. I almost illustrated my building. Don't want to do that.
We thinking of inviting all the folks out there to pay a visit.
Exactly. Hello, McFly. Start thinking.
Gary Sheffield will lead off the bottom of the second inning. Last night, Sheffield, a very emotional scene as Gary clubbed his 500th career home run in his first hit as a Met. Became the first player ever to hit his 500th as a Met. First player ever to hit his 500th as a pinch hitter, which I found that fascinating. I would have thought that would have happened before because you get an older player who might be toward the end of his career who might be pinch hitting, but Sheffield was the first.
You know what I thought was interesting, that he had the most days in between, second most days in between his first home run or 0 home runs and 500, 7,525. Of course, number one was Teddy Ballgame because of the war.
Ted Williams missed 5 years because of his service to the country in the military. But Sheffield, who homered as a teenager, homered as a 40-year-old, and that was our trivia question a couple of days ago. We didn't make the connection at the time. Ty Cobb and Rusty Staub, the others to do that. Homer as a teenager and after their 40th birthday. Of course, Sheffield as a teenager played for the Milwaukee Brewers. He was a shortstop when he first came up with Milwaukee in 1988. 3-1, and he chases a pitch, 3-2.
In fact, he was so heralded that they moved Robin Yount, who was a shortstop, to center field to make room for Gary.
And Sheffield went on to San Diego, where he nearly won a Triple Crown before he was dealt to Florida, where he was a member of the world champion Marlins in '97. You see all the teams he's played for and the number of home runs he's hit for each team.
25 or more with 6 different teams. That's pretty amazing.
3-2 from Gallardo. Fastball in there for a call, strike 3. That is 4 strikeouts for Gallardo, including the last 3 hitters in a row. Well, if you're a pitcher, you go with what's working for you that day. And today, Gallardo's fastball is front and center.
And that's what helps also when you have a veteran catcher like Kendall, because he will realize that also and start going to the one that's working. And hopefully you can work in that breaking ball as you go.
Now, how does that work as a pitcher? If you find a pitch isn't working early, how do you get back to it and trust it?
Well, it's interesting. What you try to do is you try to find a spot to use it where it's not going to hurt you. I used to, if I went through the first part of the order and I got down to the 8th or 9th place hitter, being the pitcher, I would make sure that I threw a curveball, at least one curveball to the 8th or 9th place hitter, because I was going to have to use it once the lineup turned over.
1-1 to Church, who's hitting .382 on the year. Well, Gallardo has enough weapons. Slider and curveball, change up to go with that good fastball, and he challenges Church with that fastball and he fouls it off.
Well, he has the ability to pitch in. That's what makes him an effective young pitcher. He can pitch left-handed hitters in. He doesn't have fear in there. And he's got that true fastball. We talk about Maine and Pelfrey want to pitch into lefties, but their fastball wants to come back over the plate. Gallardo's is just the opposite. Kind of cuts or stays straight on that inside corner.
Slider misses, and it's 2-2. Gallardo went to high school in Fort Worth, Texas. Brewers drafted him number 2 in 2004. His senior year in high school, he had a game in which he pitched 11 innings and struck out 25. 2-2. Curveball, that just stayed high, and it's 3-2. How about that?
Our producer, Greg Picker, had a few games like that himself.
Which one? The 11 innings or the 25 strikeouts?
No, the 25 strikeouts. It was in 110 innings, so that was the difference.
3-2, and it's low, ball 4, and Church works out a walk. Second walk given up by Gallardo, and the Mets have a 1-out base runner in the second. Ken Maka, the first-year skipper of the Brewers. If you'll remember last year, Ned Yost was fired with 2 weeks to go in the season. An unprecedented move for a team that was moving toward what turned out to be a wild card, but they were in a slump. They were trying to shake things up and brought in Dale Swaim as the interim guy, managed them through the last, 12 games of the season. And the Brewers did win the wild card. Castro fouls it off.
It's a very interesting coaching staff. We talked about it last night. The bench coach is Willie Randolph, who finished second to Kenny Maka, who's going to be the manager of the team. And then Dale Swaim is still on the coaching roster, and he's the guy that was the manager last year. So
Dale Swaim, the hitting coach for Maka now. Yeah, you're right. That is a little bit odd. Bill Castro, who had been the bullpen coach under Ned Yost, is now the pitching coach, and they let go Mike Maddox, who had done a very nice job as the pitching coach.
I've heard of keeping your friends close and your enemies closer, but that's crazy.
Castro lofts the curveball foul. Fielder over for a look, but that's out of play. Giovanni Gallardo has recorded strikeouts for the first 4 outs this afternoon. This is a guy who's never had more than 8 strikeouts in a big league game. Of course, he had those 25 in high school. So, but you know, he's gotten a lot of attention over the last few years, but because of injuries, this is only his 24th major league start. First time the Mets have faced Gallardo.
And it's one of the reasons that they can almost swallow as Brewer fans, you know, losing CC Sabathia. Not that Gallardo's at that level yet, but they anticipate him being a front of the line #1 pitcher.
Castro wastes away a good breaking ball, but you know, that's part of the problem with a small market team. You know, after Gallardo came up and made that nice half a season performance in 2007 with Ben Sheets' health always questionable, Gallardo was almost their #1 starter going into last year before Sabathia came along. 0-2 fastball on the inside corner, and Castro down looking. 5 outs, 5 strikeouts for Giovanni Gallardo. 2 away.
Everything was away, and he finally comes back in with the fastball. So now both sides of the plate, lefties and righties, been able to strike out the hitters with fastballs. And here is the starting rotation. Suppan off to a real tough start. Gallardo up and down, Parra up and down. Looper has done a nice job after coming out of the bullpen for St. Louis the last few seasons, and now with Milwaukee. That's pretty amazing to me what Looper has done.
Well, it's his 3rd year now as a starting pitcher after his difficult time in New York, and he has been a revelation. Here's Santana looking for his first hit of the season, 0 for 3 so far.
I'll always look at Looper in a different way. Ever since finding out that he had that tough year in New York, did not say a word, and he was hurt for a good part of it.
For all of it.
Yeah,
you got hurt before the season began.
You only want good things to happen to people that man up like that.
And you know, in 2005, Looper's last year here, he never made an excuse. He never complained. His teammates all knew, and his manager and his pitching coach all knew that he was hurt. He had an AC crack in his shoulder. Curveball hit to shallow left. Long run in for Braun, going out Hardy, and Braun will take charge to make the catch. But Looper didn't let anybody know publicly until the last week of the season that he had been hurt all year, and he absorbed all the boos along the way. We go to the 3rd. Mets and Brewers, no score. Award. Now, this requires explanation because the Cy Young Award came in the 50s. 56, I believe, was the first year. And for the first 12 years or so, there was only one Cy Young awarded in the majors before they split it up. I want to say 67, 68, they split it up.
I think it was 67. Doug, our stat man.
Oh, he knows the answer.
He'll help us out.
Giovanni Gallardo takes a strike. Well, I mean, I know Koufax won it
Yes.
several times in the early 60s. The question is, did a lefty win it before that? Gallardo hits it hard, and David Wright with a beautiful diving snag and throws out the pitcher. Well, that ball came up on David when he went into his dive, made it an even tougher chance. Stayed right with it, makes another spectacular play.
Well, Gallardo has 3 home runs in his career. Fine hitting pitcher, and you see David just timing that glove, soft hands, accurate throw. I talked to him before the game today. He couldn't be happier with the way this field is here at Citi Field. He says that it's been a little wet out there, but he said he prefers it wet than dry, and usually it'll keep the ball down. But like you said, Gary, that one came up just a bit.
Well, he's getting to know that field very well. Last night he was wearing most of it, it appeared, after a few dives in a row, and to do some major housekeeping. There's Ricky Weeks, and he lifts one to left center. Should be easy for Sheffield. And that's the second out. And I'll tell you what, we haven't seen all that much of Sheffield in the outfield, but he looks very smooth out there, not like a guy who hasn't played for 3 years.
You can tell when a guy comes to the ball, he looks confident. He has no problem. Now, you know, because he's 40 years of age, he's not going to reach a lot of balls, but anything he can get to, he will make the play. He's been out there a long time.
Started as a shortstop, then played third base, and finally was moved to the outfield. Here's Corey Hart, who struck out his first time up, and he takes a strike. And Jerry said before the game today that Sheffield will play tomorrow, probably in right field, but he also said maybe Churchill play center and Beltran would get a day off, which is interesting because Jerry said that, you know, Beltran and Reyes and Wright were going to get days off this year, something that almost never happened last season. But you know, saying it and then doing it are two different things.
You know, a good way to get them a day off? Going about a 5-6 game winning streak. That puts you in a nice position where you can do those kind of things. And think of Sheffield, too. If he's able to hit enough and be real productive for this team, when you go and play those interleague games, instead of having 2 seasons ago, I remember the Mets were using Chris Woodward as a designated hitter. It's nice to have a American League type designated hitter in those games.
Two to Hart. Swing and a miss. He struck him out. Good slider by Johan Santana to get Hart. That's his 4th strikeout. He sets the Brewers down 1-2-3 in the 3rd. Top of the order coming up. Reyes to lead off. Still no score.
Fans, Alyssa Milano, who's at the ballpark today. Well, you have your own shop here now, the Touch Shop, the Touch Store, the very first store of your own clothing line here down the right field line.
It's pretty amazing. I saw it for the first time today live and in person. I've been looking at sketches and sort of concept ideas, and I walked in today and I started crying as soon as I saw it. It's so amazing. Last time you and I spoke, the line had just come out, and it was about, it wasn't last season, but the season
2 years ago.
Or 2 years ago. So, you know, to come this far in 2 years, I think I'm very, very proud and appreciative of Mets and all the female fans out there that's supporting the line. Good
start for Jose Reyes, leadoff single for the Mets. You are a huge baseball fan, for those of the people who don't know. You're out in L.A. watching the Dodgers. I know you're here in New York a lot, so you do get to see the Mets. What is your take now? Give me an early season feel for your Dodgers.
For the Dodgers, I think we're going to run into pitching issues. You know, Kuroda is now out, so I think that if one more guy gets injured from our starting rotation, we're going to be in deep trouble.
You know, you're a Brooklyn girl. You know, you grew up here you went out to L.A. for the show. Good chance.
Yeah, pretty good chance, right?
Yeah, I'd say. And you moved out to L.A., but you're from here, and, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, your dad went to Brooklyn Dodger games, correct?
My dad used to sneak into Ebbets Field under the bleachers. He put all of his, you know, the reject baseball cards into his spokes on his baseball, on his bicycle, and he'd play stickball in the streets. And I grew up with these really, really romantic stories of the Brooklyn Dodgers and of Jackie Robinson and how, you know, no city in the world could have done what his city did, which was integrate baseball.
Well, did you happen to notice the entrance to the ballpark, the Jackie Robinson Rotunda?
I walked into that rotunda and every hair on the back of my neck stood up. It's so beautiful. I think the field is absolutely gorgeous.
Well, Alyssa Milano, of course, you know her from plenty of places, TV fame, and she's got her own store, Touchdown, the right field line, guys, and also her own book as well, Safe at Home. You got a lot going on, is the bottom line. Thanks for coming on, okay?
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, guys, let's go back to you. Mets maybe a rally here.
And this may be in honor of Alyssa and her Angelino status, but our first beach ball of the Citi Field era has rolled onto the field, forcing a brief delay. Something that Alyssa said really just struck me. Do you know that Walter O'Malley had to move the Dodgers to L.A.? You know why? Because from the stories that I've heard, and I was too young to have gone there, nobody ever paid for a ticket at Ebbets Field. Everybody snuck in.
That's funny.
Every story you hear, that's what you hear, right? Here's Castillo taking high, and it's 2-1 with Reyes aboard. Reyes is 2 for 2. By the way, speaking of Alyssa's Dodgers, see what Jonathan Broxton did last night.
Whoa.
A 5-out save in the Dodgers win over Colorado.
Just had the bases loaded there for a while and just got out of it with that great 2 strikeouts.
Dodgers off to a great start. They're 8-3. Slap to third, might be a double play. Hall to second. Weeks can't get it out of his glove, and Castillo is safe at first. So the Mets get a break there as Weeks mishandled that ball.
Well, you see the throw here, and the problem is the throw from Hall was on the glove side going towards first base. So what happened is Ricky Weeks wasn't able to use 2 hands. He'd been able to get rid of that ball. Well, he had to catch it and then try to transfer. It did not work out.
Is he wearing something of a bigger glove than most second basemen wear?
Yes, he is, and that's another reason. You know, a lot of us old-timers remember Joe Morgan's glove, but that glove is probably more what you'd see a third baseman use or a shortstop use.
Here's David Wright hitting one in the air to right field. Lots of room out there for Hart as he retreats. And that's the second out, and back to first goes Castillo. That spot where David hit the ball straight away to right, it's going to be hard to hit home runs there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's deep because of that Modell's area out there, and then you've got the tall fence in front of that knothole area as well.
I think that if David's going to hit some home runs, it's going to be probably between where it jets out a little bit, where that fence jets out, where the bullpen is, where the catchers would be for the home bullpen.
Or down the line, of course, because I guess that's more of a target for the left-hand pull hitters. What a difference watching right field here and right field at the new Yankee Stadium, watching that on TV. I mean, that's a pop-up away.
I'll tell you what it is. It's like the left field at Citizens Bank Park.
Right.
That's what right field Yankee Stadium is right now from watching the last couple of games that I've got to see.
Shift on against Delgado, who struck out his first time up. No score. We're in the third. So Johan Santana finds himself matched up against yet another very tough young pitcher.
Well, this invariably will always happen to a number one because you are facing the other team's number one usually through at least the first month of the season.
Pulled into the shift. Weeks from the outfield, has plenty of time, and that retires the side. So a leadoff single by Reyes, but the Mets unable to convert. We head to the fourth. Still no score. Part of the big crowd at Citi Field on a comfortable Saturday afternoon. Nice to be able to come to a ball game in April and not wear your jacket.
I know your family came today, right? They're sitting in the Pepsi porch, which I think is pretty cool.
They say it's beautiful out there.
Yeah.
It's a unique section out on that Pepsi porch. It's kind of isolated from the rest of the stadium. There's a good shot of it. Got your own concession stands. It's just like a little oasis. Here's Ryan Braun leading off the fourth inning and takes a strike. Braun singled to center against Santana in the first. Well, Johan keeps stringing up zeros, but waiting for support. Soft liner right to Castillo, and Braun's retired, one away.
Well, I think that's one of the most important stats that you like to see if you're a starting pitcher. You always want your team to get you a run or two early in the game. It gives you room if you make a mistake here and there. In this kind of game, you're starting to sense that you can't make a mistake.
Well, you remember when he faced Florida, Murphy dropped the fly ball in the second inning. You almost had the sense right there that that might be the ball game.
Yeah.
Fielder takes a strike.
And from his reaction, from a guy, Santana, who doesn't ever have any reaction, it was kind of poignant. He felt it too. Always good strike to ball ratio for Santana.
1-1 to Fielder, who is not swinging the bat well right now. Well, Santana, best ERA in the National League last year. Most wins in baseball since 2004. And he gets ahead on Fielder, 1-2.
Well, good slider. You don't see him throw too many, but he will throw them to the left-handed hitters, especially when he gets behind in the count. Just lets him see another pitch that allows him now. He can do many things. He can go back to that slider in the dirt. He can pound a fastball and try to paint him outside, or strike him out on a changeup like he did in his first at-bat. Going to try to paint a fastball away.
Just off the corner, 2-2. April has been the cruelest month for Santana. 1-1 this year, 12-10 lifetime in April. Hit hard, and Delgado can't reach it. It's a base hit for Fielder. So the Brewers have their third hit, a 1-out single for Prince. I mean, 12-10 isn't terrible. So look at the base hit.
Well, it's terrible when you're talking about him because his numbers after the All-Star break.
98 and 42
That's
after April.
I was going to say ridiculous, but it doesn't even cover it. I mean, well, you make up a word, ridiculi. That's how bad it is.
I think that's where you go to redonkulous.
Yeah, there you go. Very nice.
Here's Hardy, who grounded to short his first time, and he takes the strike. J.J. Hardy, 24 home runs last year, second among major league shortstops. He's really emerged as a fine player. And that's what the Brewers have. They've got a nice core of young players who have grown up with this small market franchise. Braun and Fielder and Hardy and Weeks. Filled in nicely with some veterans like Cameron. And they've got a nice core, but you know the problem, of course, is how do you hang on to a guy like Sabathia, who was so integral to their success last year in making the postseason? You
don't. I think you get those guys to fill in if you have a shot. And then when you have some good young pitchers or young players, you got to tie them up to 4 or 5 year contracts to take them past their free agency. Interesting pitch. They feel as though Hardy's going to chase that ball up in the strike zone. Now, that was too high. But if you remember in last night's game, Bobby Parnell, the young pitcher, was able to throw one about neck high, and Hardy swung through it. So, changing the eye level. Fastball up in his eyes. Does he go change up, down, and away?
Misses up and away with the changeup, and it's 2-2. It's the first one he's really not gripped properly and lost. I imagine that anybody who throws a changeup is going to have that happen at some point in the game where it just doesn't come out of your hand the right way.
And you just hope it ends up like that, way out of the strike zone.
2-2 fastball popped foul and out of play.
Well, the great thing about Santana is he kind of spins that ball in his glove as he kind of figures out how he's going to grip it. And most changeup pitchers, when they hold that change, they'll spin it around until those seams feel proper and right. See him? Just trying to feel how the ball feels right in his hand. That's the changeup grip. Does he change it? No. So he's going to get a change.
In the air to left center field. He hit it well. Beltran going back near the fence. He makes the catch right at the wall. Ballpark just big enough to hold it. A long fly ball for Hardy for the second out.
Well, this is where home runs are going to die. We can see so far this season. Even Beltran feels like he's running out of room. You know, you have that feeling as a Gold Glove center fielder that you're running, and you're going to run out of room. But here at Citi Field, you still got another 10 feet.
He felt for the wall, but he didn't even really have to. Interestingly enough, and obviously it's an enormously small sample. I guess that's an oxymoron, enormously small. Here's Mike Cameron. Through the first 4 games, Citi Field has averaged 2.25 homers per game, which is actually more than Shea Stadium averaged last year, 2.15. Again, small sample, but I think what's instructive is that almost all of the home runs have gone right down the lines.
Well, what you have now is you're getting back to how baseball was in the 60s and 70s, where if a guy hit the ball over the center field wall, there was a handful of guys in baseball who could do it. Now, if you think of Shea Stadium, and you know we've gone through different kind of stages and evolutions of the game, but Shea Stadium in its total history from 1964 was about $1.50 home runs per game.
Right. And you're right, because there was a time when you hit it over the center field fence over 410 at Shea. That was enormous. It became a little more routine through the 90s.
Well, Howie told me, I was talking to Howie today about it. Here you can see the Shea Stadium and Citi Field dimensions.
And it's a little misleading because those Citi Field left center and right center, that's not exactly right. Left center and right center are a little deeper than that.
And also the wall comes into it. There's a big factor in left field and left center.
One, two, swing and a miss. He struck him out. Johan Santana, strikeout number 5 as he gets Cameron for the second time. We hit for the bottom of the 4th. Beltran to lead off for New York. Santana in command. Game still scoreless.
For I have sinned.
I'm still trying to figure out where we are around Citi Field and where our guys have our cameras stashed. I was going to say Bill Webb, but Webby's not here today. Tony Lanny in the director's chair and doing a wonderful job.
You know what I've been trying to do is every day when I get here, I've been trying to go to one place every day that I haven't seen. So today I went to the Acela Club, took a look in, and that's just unbelievable.
I'm surprised you didn't stay. It's a nice place. 0-2 to Beltran, leading the home 4th, and Gallardo just misses with the fastball 1-2.
Well, they have a price fixed there, Gary. I didn't think I could wolf it down in time and also do the broadcast.
It's a beautiful place right in the left field corner, and you see those tables outside. I'm surprised those aren't occupied today because it's a nice day. In there for a call, strike 3. So Gallardo gets Beltran looking, and that is 6 strikeouts now for Yovani Gallardo. Second time he's gotten Beltran.
Well, we've seen this with Castillo. This is just a true fastball. Sometimes when you see it come out from other pitchers, that ball that starts in the outside corner will sink. Gallardo stays true, and it's fooling the Met hitters on the knees.
So 1 out in the home 4th. And here is Sheffield, who went down looking his first time up. Gary now 1 for 6 as a Met. But the 1 he'll remember forever.
You've done so many games, Gary. Is it ever funny when you read like a guy like Gary Sheffield's name hitting for the Mets? Does that seem strange a little bit? Yeah, me too. There's certain guys that when we call it out and you go, boy, it's strange to say that Gary Sheffield hitting for the Mets.
Funny thing is, there was a time 6 or 7 years ago where it looked like Sheffield might be coming to the Mets, and it seemed to make more sense at the time. And of course, Gary's always had that 1 degree of separation relationship with the Mets because of Dwight Gooden. Popped up along the right field line, a long run back for Fielder. Weeks coming over. Fielder with a nice play. Well, I'll tell you what, he's taken some pounds off, and Fielder really moving that big body out down the line. That was a very difficult play, 2 out.
Well, we've seen it early from Castillo that it's hard to get over to that line in time. That ball wants to drift away from the second baseman, and Prince Fielder, if he didn't hustle all the way down the line, Corey Hart was not going to make that play. That would have been a double for Sheffield. And he's calling everyone off. He wants it. You love to see that.
Well, with Sheffield up, Weeks has to shade the middle, so even more difficult to get to that ball near the line. So Sheffield retired on a nice play by Fielder. 2 out for Ryan Church. Church walked his first time up. Ryan hitting a .382, started the day 8th in the National League in batting. Castillo began the day 6th in the league in hitting. Two and out at Church.
I know when I was playing in the 90s, when they traded for Frank Viola, I always found it very funny when they announced that Frank Viola was pitching for the Mets, even though he had ties to the island, went to St. John's. Just always thought of him as a Twin because he had just come off all those brilliant seasons pitching for them in the playoffs. Cy Young Award winner.
I'll tell you what was hard as a Met. Oral Hershiser.
Okay, I get it.
Lined over a fielder's head and into right field, a base hit for Church. Hart charges it to keep Church at first base. I mean, Oral was a terrific guy, a great guy to have on a team, and really helped the Mets in '99. But it was really weird.
Leftover anger.
Here's Castro hitting 8th in the order. Mets with just their 3rd hit now against Gallardo. Castro went down looking his first time up. Another pitcher's duel developing. Santana and blank. It's a strike to Castro, 0-1. Last time it was Josh Johnson. This time the 23-year-old from Fort Worth, Texas, Giovanni Gallardo. Late on the fastball, and it's 0-2 to Castro.
You ask any person that pitched for a significant amount of time, see Santana on deck as a starting pitcher. There always seems to be one guy during the season that pitches when it rains, one guy who gets tons of runs, one guy who doesn't get any runs. It just seems to be that way.
Castro gets under one and pops it out to Cameron with the glasses down in center field. And that'll do it for the Mets in the bottom of the 4th. Santana and Gallardo matching zeros. We head to the 5th, still no score. Field as the series with the Brewers concludes tomorrow at 1:10 p.m. Mass transit is the faster, easier, and greener way to Citi Field. Get to the Mets' new world-class home of amazing and visit Mets.com or call 718-507-TIXX for your tickets now. Seems like one of those games where one run might beat you, as Johan Santana and Giovanni Gallardo have each allowed just 3 hits over the first 4 innings. Lower 3rd of the order for Milwaukee. Bill Hall leads off in the 5th and takes ball 1. Hall singled to right his first time up, now 3 for 5 in this series. There's a fastball for a strike, 1-1.
When you're starting pitcher, you're trying to think to make sure that you're at the bottom of the order. You got to get through these guys 1, 2, 3. So when you flip it over, you might be able to go through 6 and 7, get yourself deep in the game. The only way to get deep in the game, we saw Livan Hernandez run into trouble at the bottom of the order, let a couple people on. That caused him to lose the lead.
Wound up facing the top of the batting order in the 6th inning after giving up a run in the 5th, and that's where the game came crashing in on Livan. And the slider swung and missed, and Hall is down for the first out in the 5th inning. That's 6 strikeouts now for Santana after he fanned 13 in his last start. I mentioned in our open tonight how rare what Santana did in his last start was. 13 strikeouts, no earned runs allowed, and a loss. The last time that happened was 20 years ago. It happened to Pete Smith while pitching for the Braves. Pete, who would later pitch for the Mets, had a 13 strikeout game in which he didn't allow an earned run. Santana's game was only the 7th time in history that had happened. 13 or more strikeouts, no earned runs, and a loss. That's being really unlucky.
I know I didn't have many double-figure games, but I know the ones I did was a win every single time.
Well, I remember one teammate of yours had that was a loss. 2 of them. One that Doc struck out 16 and lost on a balk in Philadelphia.
That's right.
And the one that Sid struck out, I think it was 14 in Atlanta, and lost on a Lonnie Smith home run.
That's right.
1-2 to Santana. A little flare to first base. Easy for Delgado. Caught it in fair territory for the 2nd out. So Kendall retired, 2 away. The last time that a Met lefty struck out as many as 13 before Santana's game, you got to go back to Leiter in 1999.
15, didn't he?
Yeah. It is Johan Santana. What do they call those? Not backpacks. They've got another word for it.
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't know.
It's a little bag you put on your back.
Yeah.
With string bag.
String bag. But it's interesting because when the fans put it on their back, the string bag, it looks like they have a Santana shirt on.
Gallardo fouls it away. Gallardo robbed of a base hit his first time up. Remember, this guy homered against Randy Johnson in his first start this year.
He's got a beautiful swing. 3 career home runs and very little at bats.
Going to give Micah Owings a run for his money. And tied 1-2. Santana has not walked a batter. He has struck out 6. Little flare over shortstop, and that's going to fall for a base hit. So Yovani Gallardo has a 2-out single, the 4th hit for the Brewers.
Fastball in a good place inside. Jams him. Nice job by Gallardo pulling those hands in. Getting enough of the bat on the ball for a single.
So now Ricky Weeks will bat with 2 out and a runner on. Weeks 0 for 2 today, 1 for 6 in the series.
And he's hit Santana pretty well, and I thought this would be the hitter that he'd have to really be careful with because he's got kind of a long swing. And when you have a long swing, you can sometimes run into a changeup.
Well, if Weeks is going to be a leadoff hitter, he has got to get on base more consistently than he has so far in his career. He hit just .236 last year.
To me, he looks more like a down the lineup kind of hitter to me.
They don't really have a whole lot of options in this batting order for who else to hit leadoff. Of course, Jason Kendall has led off in his career. One of the rare catchers to do that. Mike Cameron has led off at times, but he's not a classic leadoff hitter either.
Well, Cameron led off the last 12 games of the season, I believe, for the Milwaukee Brewers last year for Dale Swaim.
Just too many strikeouts in that leadoff spot with Cameron there.
Change up grip. He'll fool around the ball. Let's see if he goes to 2 fingers or 4. 4, if you see a lot of white, that's a changeup.
2-1 to Weeks. Pirates shut out the Braves last night behind Paul Maholm, and the Pirates are shutting out the Braves this afternoon 9-0 behind Ian Snell in the 8th, in the 7th. Change up grip, and it's in for a strike. 2-2.
Just on top of his game the last 2 starts, just mixing it up, back and forth, inside and out, and he's done a lot better, a lot more of changing eye level, throwing a lot of fastballs up in the strike zone.
Two to Weeks. Late swing foul. When he's flipping the ball in his hand, is that just looking for the best seam to get a hold of?
It is. Sometimes what you're trying to do is you're just trying to feel to see which one has the better higher seam to catch. But when he goes in his glove, if you see this at home, folks, lots of white, that'll be your changeup. When he holds a fastball, it'll be like this. You won't see as much white. So when you look in there, lots of white will mean a changeup. Not so much white, that'll be the fast one. There you go. Fastball.
2-2. Just missed inside. Almost a perfect pitch by Santana, but didn't get the call from Jim Joyce, and it's 3-2.
Good pitch. Fastball inside. Joyce has had a low strike zone, not a high strike zone. That's why he did not call it. Castro brought that pitch down. To me, that's a good pitch. Santana's got himself, even when he misses, he's got himself in a good position. 2-2 fastball in, sets up the 3-2 changeup away. Let's see if we see lots of white. We do.
Gallardo will run with 3-2 and 2 down, and Weeks grounds it down to David Wright. So Santana gets the Brewers out of the 5th. We're halfway through at Citi Field. Mets and Brewers still no score. Scoreless game. Johan Santana will lead off in the bottom of the 5th. Here's the answer to our Aflac trivia question. We asked who was the first lefty to win the Cy Young Award, which was instituted in 1956.
That's a guess. Yep. Okay.
In the time that there was only one Cy Young, which was from 56 to 66, 3 lefties won the award. Spahn, Koufax 3 times.
Okay.
And Whitey Ford.
Oh, that's right.
2 guys pitching like Cy Youngs today. Santana, who's won a pair of them, and Gallardo, who may win a few before he's done if he stays healthy.
Bill Hall is way back at third base. Santana can run. Maybe good time maybe to lay one down.
And Hall creeps in just as you said that. I swear they listened to the broadcast. 1-0 to Santana, who flied to left his first time up. That's about the leadoff hitter on twice in this game. Reyes singled to lead off in the 1st and stole 2nd, but was stranded. Reyes singled to lead off in the 3rd, but the Mets didn't score. Mets have left 5 runners in the first 4 innings. Gallardo has walked 2, and he falls behind on Santana 3-0.
Well, in this kind of game, if you're a pitcher and you're up, you want to take 2 pitches here. Take one, and if he walks you, great. If he throws a strike, you have to take another one.
And there's one. Got to be tempting, though, to swing 3 and 1, especially a guy like Santana
who's got some power.
You know, can hit a little. Looking for his first career home run, but he's taking it. It's a strike, 3-2. Bounced out to Weeks. Nice easy hop. And that's 1 down in the bottom of the 5th. Time to take a look inside Citi Field with Kevin Burkhardt, brought to you by New York City Carpenters and Contractors.
Charades with you. Why don't you tell me what I am right now? That would be me looking at the field from Shea Stadium with my head all bent towards home plate. That's what's nice about Citi Field here. Look at the seats. You've got the leg room, anywhere between 33 and 39 inches of leg room. And they see how I'm angled right now. I'm sitting straight. They angle you towards the second base and the pitcher's mount, so you never have to strain your neck like that. A lot of chiropractors are happy. Of course, you know, if you've sat down those left field or right field seats, you always had to bend because they weren't facing this way. So just a nice little touch here that every seat in the park is kind of angled, so you're looking right at the center of the action, guys. Bad charades playing, by the way.
It's very nice. I was never good at charades. I'm much better at Pictionary.
I'm brutal at both.
But, you know, I wonder if there are going to be any class action suits on the part of the chiropractors. 1-1 to Reyes, is 2 for 2 on the afternoon. And Gallardo pours one over the inside corner. Reyes didn't think so. 1-2. Reyes is single to left, single to center. Has that average up over 300. 5 for 7 in this series. Late swing foul.
Reyes has got a little chuckle there. I mean, that's about as late as you can hit it before it hits the glove of Kendall.
One-two. Curveball bounced slowly. In comes Hardy. Has to throw it quickly and gets Reyes by a stride. 2 away. So Reyes retired for the first time this afternoon, and Gallardo, who has not yet had a 1-2-3 inning, has a chance for one here as he takes on Luis Castillo. Castillo today has hit into a fielder's choice and taken to call third strike. 0 for 2.
It's pretty interesting, right? A 0-0 score, and you only have one 1-2-3 inning by Santana in the third.
The only inning that either team has had more than one base runner in an inning was the first, when the Mets put 2 men on against Gallardo. Otherwise, both these pitchers have been able to stay out of any kind of trouble at all. In at the knees to Castillo, and it's 1-2. It's a familiar feeling for Santana. 1-2 off the outside corner with a fastball. 2-2. Mets have not yet named their starter for tomorrow, but there's every reason to think it's going to be Nelson Figueroa. With Mike Pelfrey not going to start tomorrow, and yet Pelfrey is healthy enough that if the game had gone extra innings last night, the Mets were going to send him out to the bullpen and maybe pitch an inning or 2 out there.
And they said also that since he's not going to go on DL, when they go to St. Louis, if they run into a crazy game, extra innings or something, he will be available.
Slap toward the hole, and a base hit for Castillo. Now Luis Castillo continues to do what he does best. Put the ball on the ground, find a hole. He's now hit it 7 straight games.
Boy, he is wearing out this hole, isn't he? That ball is supposed to be in. That's why he was able to hit that ball that way. Just a short stroke, hit it on the ground, run as fast as you can.
So the Mets have a 2-out base runner, their 4th hit, and David Wright will come up. Check out the IOTV pitch differential.
Kendall wants that pitch inside corner. See how it drifts back over the outside corner? That's almost the whole length of the plate right there for the differential.
David Wright has walked and flied out 0 for 1. By the way, if it is Figueroa to pitch tomorrow, remember it was against the Brewers that Figueroa made that first start last year at Shea and retired the first 14 batters.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, he got a no-no into the 5th.
That was one of the very special nights from last season, with his family occupying Billy Wagner's box down the right field line, going crazy.
That was like a New York night, you know? Made you proud to be from one of the 5 boroughs.
His first win in the big leagues in 5 years. Wright takes a strike on the outside edge, and Gallardo gets ahead 0-2.
And you have to say that Figueroa didn't do anything to warrant going to AAA. He had a nice spring training, did a nice job in the World Baseball Classic. It's just ran into that dreaded numbers game.
Well, who knows? If he comes up, he might well go into that long spot in the bullpen. 0-2 to Wright, up and away, because if Pelfrey's not going on the DL, the Mets are going to have to send somebody out to make room for Nelson, and you have to figure that's going to be Darren O'Day, who's a Rule 5 guy, and if the Mets don't keep him in the big leagues, they have to offer him back to the Angels. And right now the Angels could probably use him. 1-2 to Wright, curveball that just missed high. Bill Hall was running off the field. From his vantage point, he thought that was a strike.
Well, Jim Joyce has had a low strike zone today. I think that once that got to Kendall's glove, it was a strike, but it broke really late, so I think it was a little high. Good call by Jim Joyce.
Might have gone over the strike zone.
Yeah.
2-2 to David. Fastball fouled away. Gallardo's been very consistent with that fastball. 92, 93 miles an hour, throwing it to corners.
Consistent in his really young career. 5-3 at home, 5-3 on the road. David looking for one of those fastballs where Gallardo tries to come in, maybe down and in.
Gallardo now up over 90 pitches for the afternoon. 2-2. Castillo runs, swing and a miss. He struck him out. That is strikeout number 7 for Yovani Gallardo, just one shy of his career high. 5 in the books now at Citi Field. Mets and Brewers still scoreless. on, minus about 23 miles. Here's Corey Hart leading off in the 6th inning, and he takes ball 1. Hart's been up twice, struck out both times. No score. We start the 6th inning, each team with 4 hits. It'll be Hart, Braun, and Fielder for the Brewers against Santana, and a good changeup. 1-1 to Hart.
Just surprised there hasn't been more running when guys have gone on, more attempting to bunt.
Hit hard, base hit through the hole into left field, and for the first time this afternoon, the Brewers have the leadoff man on against Santana with the 3 and 4 hitters coming up. Let's check in with Chris Carlin in the studio at New York State Smokers Quit Line game break. You don't look like Chris Carlin. Sorry, Gary. Here's Ryan Braun. Braun is 1 for 2. He singled to center and hit a soft liner to second base. 5 hits now for the Brewers, with Hart at first and nobody out, and he can steal a base. Ball 1 to Braun. Let's check in with Kevin Burkhardt. Kevin?
You touched on this earlier in the game about Ryan Braun and his hitting prowess. He had a quote in the Milwaukee paper earlier in the week that said he hasn't felt comfortable at the plate for any extended period of time since 2007. I went up to him today and I said, what? I mean, how is that possible with the numbers you put up? And he said, I'll tell you what, when I look at film, I look at film from 07 because I was completely locked in the whole year. He said he felt like last year he was constantly making adjustments. He said he felt he had small periods where he felt locked in, but he never really felt totally right. So I found that pretty amazing considering the season that he put up. And just a quick note, I asked him on kind of behalf of Daniel Murphy about his adjustment to the outfield and how long that took. He said by about the All-Star break, he started to feel very comfortable in left field. So we'll track that with Murph as well. Guys?
Well, Braun is not exactly a gold glove in left field, but he has made a good transition after an error-plagued year 2 years ago at third base. Good changeup by Santana, 1-2.
The adjective, Gary, would be he's a serviceable left fielder.
And you see the errors, and you know errors don't count for a whole lot for outfielders, but it's certainly a snapshot of the fact that he has at least made a credible adjustment. Santana ahead of him, 1-2. Jammed him with the fastball and he pulled it foul.
Well, I did a game last year where he hit 2 home runs over the Green Monster in Boston. I will tell you, he was locked in that day. He just has a very quick bat. He doesn't miss a lot of mistakes. Young man from Southern California, from Granada Hills, went to Granada Hills High School. That's the same high school that produced John Elway, pretty good football and baseball player.
Baseball player for a minute. Popped up on the right side. Castillo takes a little glance at Braun to make sure he's running it out and then makes the catch. That's a nifty veteran move on Castillo's part. Just wanted to make sure that Braun wasn't lingering in the batter's box. If he had been, he'd let it drop and try for 2.
Watch the peak.
No. It was a little post peak.
Okay, that's all right.
Past his peak. So Braun retired, 1 away. And it brings up Prince Fielder. Fielder struck out and singled to right, 1 for 2. A question about Ryan Braun, and I really should ask him this. Why does a kid who grew up in California, born and raised, go to college in Miami?
Yeah.
There's so many great baseball programs in Southern California.
I mean, just the 2 schools, USC and UCLA, are just 2 of the best.
Fullerton.
Yeah, that's right. Cal State Fullerton.
Fielder lines one to left. Sheffield giving ground and then comes in to make the shoestring catch. That ball dipped on Sheffield before he thought it would. It almost fell, but Gary able to pick it off the shoe tops for the second out.
Yeah, that ball did not carry out to left field. It kind of died. MC staying behind the ball, and then at the last second with the shoe top catch by Gary Sheffield. And that's just from not being out there a lot. That's all that is.
All all's well that ends well. He didn't panic. So now 2 out. Hart still at first. And J.J. Hardy, the batter. Hardy really clocked one his last time up, sending Beltran back to the fence in distant left center field. It's the best anybody's hit the ball against Santana all day. Hardy now 0 for 6 in this series. No score. We're in the 6th. A tremendous pitchers duel between Santana and Gallardo. And the changeup for a strike. 0-1 to Hardy.
Santana just takes care of business, doesn't he? Throw over to first. You say, well, why is he doing that? Last 2 seasons, Hart stole 23 bases each season. So he's a guy that tries to time the left-handers, might try to get a jump and get to second base.
1-1 to Hardy. Santana trying to beat the Brewers for the first time since 2004. Not a whole lot of starts in that span, but last year the Brewers were a tough match for him. 1-1. Swing and a miss at the fastball. 1-2.
Well, good fastball up in the strike zone. We've seen Hardy likes that pitch up there. Gives him all kind of options. He can repeat that. See David Wright on third base hugging that line because of the changeup, possibility of a changeup. Hardy could pull that down the line.
Popped up foul. Castro doesn't know where it is, but it's in the stands anyway. That ball disappeared on Ramon.
That play at Old Shea would have been close. I mean, that's what, 10, 12 feet in, 25 and 12, close to 40.
Well, in the 4.5 games since we started here, there have been 3 pop-ups caught by the catcher. One of those was on a bunt, but there just isn't that much room behind the plate. One and 2 to J.J. Hardy. Hart back to the bag. One, 2. Too high, and it's 2-2. Santana up to 90 pitches on the afternoon, working in the 6th inning. Through 97 against the Marlins before being removed for a pinch hitter. 2-2. On the inside corner, strike 3 call. Hardy down looking, 7 strikeouts for Santana. A leadoff base hit, but Hart doesn't get past first. Moving that changeup to the other side of the plate. On everything from baseball to pop culture on Loudmouths weeknights at 6 p.m. right here on SNY. Giovanni Gallardo has stymied the Mets over the first 5 innings. Carlos Delgado leads off the home 6th and takes ball 1. Delgado has struck out and grounded out. Mets have 5 hits against Gallardo. The only caveat on Gallardo, 92 pitches through 5 innings. Good slider, and it's 1-1.
See Delgado getting frustrated. Frustration happens when you're facing a guy and you're trying to guess along with him. Figured 1-0, he's going to get a good fastball inside. Try to be a little quick. What'd he get? Slider instead.
Well, the Mets are facing Gallardo for the first time. Now working the 3rd time around the batting order against this 23-year-old right-hander. Grounded down to first for Fielder. He'll take it himself. 1 away. And you know, I guess as a hitter you can watch all the video you want, but until you see a guy in person, you don't know exactly how you're going to approach it.
Well, the one thing just from the Mets hitters' reaction to his fastball, they've all been a little late. And yeah, I know he throws 93, 94, but they see that all the time. It's just that he has such an easy motion that fastball gets on the hitter really quick. Sort of like when John Mayne is at his best. Sued for non-support here by Mr. Santana.
All you can do is watch and hope before it's his turn again. 1-0 to Carlos Beltran, who has struck out twice, swinging in the first, looking in the 4th. 2 of the 7 strikeouts for Gallardo over the first 5 1/3.
Well, if things are true to form, I would guess that Santana next inning might be his last, because he tried to keep the pitchers around the 100 pitchers or so, 105. He's got to have what, 92, 93 now?
Line right field, base hit for Beltran. That went off the hands and able to pull it into right field for the Mets' 5th hit.
Same pitch, same kind of hit that Ryan Church had. A broken bat. These athletes just strong enough to just dunk it over the head of Prince Fielder.
Like he put that bat in a wood chipper. So the Mets have a 1-out base runner, and I know you've got Sheffield at the plate, but Beltran's got to think about stealing a base. He has not attempted a stolen base yet this year, 25 of them last year.
Well, agreed. And I although I would say that I wouldn't tell Gary Sheffield to take a pitch. I think that if he gets his pitch, he should turn the fan on, as Frank Howard used to say.
Sheffield's 0 for 2. Way inside, and it hit him. Sheffield nicked by the pitch, and the Mets have 2 men on. So Gallardo, who's been working inside all day, one time came too far in, and the Mets get a runner into scoring position for only the 2nd time.
Well, that is a case, as you can see, it just gets the blouse of his top. That's the case of Gary Sheffield might not be the same hitter that he was years ago, but Gallardo doesn't know that. And when he's coming inside, he's thinking, Sheffield, I better make sure it's in or off the plate. It cost him the hit batter.
I saw the home run last night.
Yes, that's true.
So a chance for Ryan Church, who has been aboard twice today with a walk and a single to right. In a scoreless game, the tie-breaking run is on second. Mets got a runner into scoring position in the 1st inning. And now for the 2nd time, they have a man out to second base as Church takes the breaking ball low.
Boy, I tell you, Hall is way off the line. As you look at the pitch count for Gallardo, 100 now. Hall is way off the line at third base. Hardy is kind of just feigning, keeping Beltran close to the bag. And we know Beltran loves to steal third base.
Another breaking ball. That's in for a strike. Bullpen starts to stir for the Brewers. You know that Ken Maka would love for Gallardo to finish this 6th inning. He's due to bat 4th when the Brewers come up in the 7th. 1-1 to Church. Goes away with a fastball, and it's 2-1. Church with his base hit today, hitting an even .400 for the year. There goes Beltran. It's hit in the air to left field. Chasing Braun back. Beltran's got to retouch third and head back. Here comes Braun's throw back to second. Relayed in time for the double play. Beltran and Sheffield were both on the move. And as the ball was hit to left field, Beltran turned third, so he had to retouch on the way back. And that gave the Brewers a chance to double them off second base. Hardy with the relay, and the Mets are done in the sixth. Bag at third, and it makes you wonder what he saw or what he thought, because if he didn't see the ball, then he might be sliding into third, but here he rounded the bag.
Well, he never picked up the ball. In fact, he lost sight of the ball. He had his head down. He had that base stolen. But I think what happened is that he never picked up the ball. By the time he heard the voice of Razor Shines, way too late to come across the bag. But you would think in that instance, once he heard the smack of the bat, he had to look up and try to catch his third base coach. He did not. That rounding of the bag cost him. You would want to see a slide into third, or at least get to the bag and hold the bag, look, pick up the ball, and go back.
Right, because if you get to third and the ball falls, he can walk home. Mike Cameron leading off in the seventh inning. Cameron is 0 for 2. He's taken a call third strike and struck out swinging. 2 of the 7 strikeouts for Santana, who must think that this team will never score for us. Mets had a good opportunity there, but the fly ball double play took the Mets out of the inning. 93rd pitch coming up, and it's lined to left field. Sheffield starts in, and he's there for the first out. So Cameron retired, 1 down in the 7th.
One thing I would think about, Gary, is that when you're trying to steal third base, you are at your maximum speed, and maybe he couldn't break it down in time, and kind of like, just couldn't get, once he got to the bag, he kind of stepped over. Couldn't brace himself enough.
Here's Bill Hall. At least he knew to retouch the bag going back. We've seen players who didn't understand that you needed to do that. Hall swings and misses.
You show me a ball player, I'll show you someone who doesn't know the rule book. I mean, it's amazing. And I'm including myself in that when it came to my playing days.
Well, there are a lot of intricacies in the rule book, and that's why when you get a manager who really understands it cover to cover, he can steal a game for you every now and again. 1-1 to Hall, and it misses 2-1.
Mr. Valentine was one of those guys, wasn't he?
He would be the first that comes to mind. He knew it by heart.
For us older guys, maybe Gene Mock was one of those guys, I'm sure.
Just off the corner to Hall. I think Santana wanted that pitch. It's 3-1. Well, the Pirates have shut out the Braves for the second straight day. 10-0 behind Ian Snell. Braves have now lost 5 in a row after a good start.
I'll be careful here with Kendall on deck.
Nubber out to short as Santana made the dive for it. Easy play for Reyes. Good thing that Santana didn't get to that ball. Now there are 2 out.
Nice pitch by Santana. Change up the Hall. He's got a lot of power. He had to be careful there. A lot of spin on that baseball. That's why it's a good play by Jose.
Not sure why Johan's diving for that ball. He knows where Reyes is playing.
He just, you know, he doesn't have that idle button. He has on or off, and he's always competing out there. But you're right. You'll see that's a good play to kind of let it go to your fielder.
Here's Kendall, and he takes the fastball for ball 1. Santana about to throw his 100th pitch. And Kendall fouls it back 1-1. That bullpen getting busy now. Bobby Parnell, who was terrific last night. Pedro Feliciano, who pitches every day.
He and Green, right?
Green was tremendous, getting 5 outs last night. Kendall pops one up in foul ground. Delgado should have room. And it's a 1-2-3 inning for Johan Santana in the top of the 7th. His day may be done. 7 shutout innings for Johan. Still no score. Bob's Discount Furniture is America's #1 furniture retailer of the year and the official furniture store of the New York Mets. Johan Santana done after 7 innings and 102 pitches. He went 7 without giving up an earned run in his last start, 7 without giving up any runs today, but his only chance to get a win is if the Mets could score in the bottom of the 7th. 3 starts, 19 2/3 innings, 1 earned run. That calculates to a 0.46 earned run average. That'll win you the ERA title.
ERA title, but if they don't score a run, he'll be 1-1 still.
Carlos Villanueva has been closing games for the Brewers, but pitching the 7th inning today.
But what has happened is that he hasn't pitched in 4 days. He struggled over his last 2 appearances, giving up 5 runs in those 2 appearances. So trying to get him an inning to get him straightened out. He's done some starting for the Brewers last year, some relieving.
Casey McGee comes in to play third base in a double switch. McGee will bat 9th. So Bill Hall comes out of the game and the pitcher hits 7th. Ramon Castro leads off the bottom of the 7th as the Mets get Gallardo out of there and into the Brewers bullpen. And it's taken for ball 1. Gallardo went 6 innings, no runs, 5 hits, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts, and a hit batsman. He was just as good as Santana today. 103 pitches in 6 innings for Giovanni Gallardo, and he has no chance to win. 2-0 now to Castro. All you can do as a starting pitcher is do your job. Castro turns on one and pulls it foul. Hit that way up into the promenade. He went in the front row of the promenade above the Acela Club. That's a poke. Up there near the clock. That's where that ball went. Could have had a strawberry moment.
There you go.
Two problems. This isn't St. Louis, and the clock's in foul territory.
Daniel Murphy on deck.
He'll bat for Santana as the Mets try and get him a run. 3-1 to Castro. And Villanueva misses low, ball 4. And the Mets have the tie-breaking run aboard. Now Daniel Murphy was at the plate, but he's being called back.
Because it's calling maybe for a bunt in this situation. And he's struggling to bunt.
So Alex Cora will get the call instead. Meanwhile, we'll get a pinch runner. Omir Santos, who is a catcher but runs better than Castro, will run for Castro at first base. So Castro draws the walk and leaves the game, and Santos, who made his Mets debut last night, runs for him.
I like these guys. I like the veterans coming up when you need to put the ball on the ground, get a bunt down. Alex Cora. Castro would have made an out, Murphy would have hit, but now this is the best play. Save Murphy for later.
Cora looking for his first hit as a Met. He's gone 0 for 5 after spending the last 4 years in Boston. Jerry says that eventually he'll get Cora some starts when the schedule starts to heat up, but right now he's not all that concerned. Last year, Cora had 1 sacrifice. The year before, he had 7 with the Red Sox. He's had as many as 12 in a season. And it's pretty clear that he'll be called upon to bunt here.
Well, the key is that he has to angle that bat and get this bunt to Prince Fielder. Prince has to hold on Amir Santos at first base. He's going to get a little late charge. McGee from third base will have a better charge.
And Cora gets the bunt down beautifully. Fielder has to go to first. Low throw, it can't be handled by Weeks. Santos hits for third. And the Mets have runners at the corners with nobody out.
Well, just a beautiful bunt, angled properly. Prince Fielder takes his time, makes a good throw, and you can see it's almost like Weeks lost it in the crowd or something. Didn't turn his glove over, and just, that's a, what does Keith say, a clank, a miss. A nice job by Santos, keeping his eye on the ball, hustling over to third base. Mets are in business.
Weeks just fanned on that. So it's an error on Weeks. And now Reyes with a chance to get the first run of the day home. And he lines one off the pitcher's glove, knocks the glove right off his hand. Santos scores. They get the force play at second, but the Mets take the lead. Reyes ripped the glove right off Villanueva's left hand. It goes as a fielder's choice off the recovery by Hardy to get the force at second. But Reyes drives in the run as Santos scores, and it's 1-0 New York.
Oh, this is just a bullet. Villanueva barely got his glove up in time. And nice reaction by Santos. He sees it, he's got to freeze, but once he sees it go off the glove, proceeds to score the run. And Cora had to freeze with that line drive also, and only one that's the loser in that is Jose Reyes, because that should have been a base hit.
Does get his 4th RBI of the season, and he's on first base, where he'll think about trying to swipe one. And make sure that Villanueva is okay. I don't think I've seen that before. Pitcher getting the glove knocked right off his hand.
Well, good time to steal right now. First pitch. Pitcher's pretty shaken up. Just had a bullet at him. Knocked off his glove. He's already given up the go-ahead run. His mind is racing in all kind of different directions if he can take advantage of it.
Reyes has already stolen a base today. That was back in the first inning. Now Castillo the batter, and Villanueva has the good thought to throw over to first. Right off the thumb of the glove.
Well, once he tried to flip his glove up really quickly, the glove came off his hand.
Now Castillo looking to bunt, presumably for a hit, takes a strike. You certainly don't want him sacrificing here with one out.
Yeah, I don't think he was. I think he was just turning around the bunt to show that, because he had premeditatively thought to take a pitch to let Reyes steal.
Bring McGee in at third base, maybe slap it by him now. Pitch out. Reyes isn't going anywhere. 1-1.
When you flip up your glove like this, if you don't have a tight glove, it'll come off your hand a little bit, which it did. And once it hit the heel of that glove, just knocked it off. I mean, that was a bullet.
A scary moment for Carlos Villanueva, 25-year-old Dominican who did some starting for the Brewers last year. Brewers are waiting for Trevor Hoffman to come back from an oblique injury. Till then, they're trying to patch together their bullpen. Castillo lines one into left field, a base hit. Another multiple hit game for Luis Castillo, and the Mets have 2 men on. 13 hits in his last 25 at bats.
You watch him when he takes batting practice before the game. This is all he works on, hitting line drives and ground ball to the left side, and he's taking it into the game.
Bill Castro, the pitching coach, is going to go out for a word at the mound. But remember Castillo, that first pitch, showing bunt, drew the third baseman in.
Yep. That little cat and mouse game that Castillo can play.
So it's been tough for Villanueva. He walked Castro to lead off the inning. Cora got down the bunt. Weeks hurt the Brewers by dropping the throw at first base. Reyes with the bullet that knocked Villanueva's glove off to get a run in. And now Castillo has the first hit of the inning. And the Mets have 2 on with 1 out, with the heart of the batting order coming up.
Santana feeling a little better on that bench, isn't he? He'd like to see 2 or 3 more, though.
At least he has a chance to win a game now. Now it's up to the bullpen to get 6 more outs and see if the offense can add to this 1-0 lead. Wright is 0 for 2 and a walk. First and second and 1 out. Villanueva takes a glance back at Reyes. Remember, Beltran was on his way to stealing third in the last inning when Church hit the fly ball that resulted in a double play. And Wright chasing the slider, 0-1. David has 2 hits and 5 career at bats against Carlos Villanueva. View from the Pepsi porch. Right near the bag at second. Weeks retreats to get the force and throws on to first for the double play. Weeks took his time, knew how much time he had, and completes the play to end the inning after his error set the stage for the Mets to get the first run of the game. Reyes with a glove separator puts the Mets in front. Final game of this series tomorrow on Pixie 11. Mets will probably throw Nelson Figueroa against Jeff Suppan. Day off on Monday. Then the Mets have a brief road trip to St. Louis. Oliver Perez Tuesday night, John Maine Wednesday night, Livan Hernandez Thursday afternoon, before the Mets come right back home next weekend to take on the Washington Nationals. And remember, if you're in the car, listen to every Mets game on Sports Radio 66 WFAN.
Well, this is what you envisioned when you saw this season coming and you had to trade for Putz and Francisco Rodriguez, is that you'd have a great start by your starting pitcher, get you ahead, and of course Putz would be the 8th inning guy, Rodriguez the 9th inning guy.
Craig Counsell will lead off in the top of the 8th, and he grounds it to Delgado. 1 pitch and 1 out. Now, we had been told it was a double switch and that McGee was batting 9th. The only thing that would make sense there is if just they wanted the left-hand hitter against Putz. So I assume that means Counsell was hitting for McGee, and he'll go in to play third base. So 1 out, and Ricky Weeks coming up. Putz worked a 1-2-3 9th inning last night and wound up the winning pitcher, where the Mets scored in the bottom of the 9th. Weeks is 0 for 3 today. And a fastball strike on the inside, 0-1. Mets bullpen has been solid last night. 4 scoreless innings. They allowed just 1 hit. Feliciano, Green, Parnell, and Putz combining for those 4 innings last night.
Sean Green got 5 outs, 5 big outs.
One and 1 to Weeks.
I thought Bobby Parnell was throwing outstanding last night. I asked him today, I said, how'd you feel? He was throwing great last night. He goes, all right. It's nice to feel all right and throw 95, 96 miles an hour.
Did he throw 1 breaking ball last night?
Yeah, he didn't have to throw any more than that.
Weeks fights it off, and it's 1-2.
Well, Weeks has all the talent in the world, but like that error he made there in the last of the 7th, just a little attention to detail that he's missing in his game.
Now Putz ahead in the count, 1-2. Struck him out. High heat from J.J. Putz. 2-man down. Time to check in with the studio. New York State Smokers Quit Line game break in Gary Apple. All right, Gary, 5 straight losses now for the Braves after a 5-1 start. 2 out and nobody on. Corey Hart, the batter. He has 1 of the 5 hits for the Brewers, and he takes a strike from J.J. Putz. Hart single to left to lead off the 6th. The only time today the Brewers have gotten the leadoff man on. And all Santana did was then retire the 3, 4, and 5 hitters to strand Hart at first base. Santana terrific for 7. Putz has gotten the first 2 in the 8th. A strike at the knees, 0-2 to Hart.
That was nasty. We see that again, guys. I mean, split finger, late, bottom drops out.
You associate the splitter with a pitch that goes out of the strike zone. If you can throw that, that's dastardly. Too high with a fastball, 1-2.
97 miles an hour as he humped up on that 0-2 fastball. J.J. Putz has talked about having a split finger is not good enough. You have to know when to throw it, when to use it, how to grip it. When you have a up in the count like this 1-2, if you're going to throw it, now's the time to throw it in the dirt.
Hart holds the swing. They check it first, and Bill Miller says no swing. It's 2-2.
We've seen a lot of this, the right-handed hitters for the Milwaukee Brewers this entire series. The Mets pitchers have been trying, when they get ahead, to throw that pitch up in the strike zone.
Fouled away. And Hart keeps the at bat alive. Two from Putz. Check swing. He went around. Strike three. Back-to-back strikeouts for J.J. Putz. And the Brewers are down 1-2-3 in the eighth. Easier and greener way to Citi Field. Get to the Mets' new world-class home of amazing. Visit Mets.com or call 718-507-TIXX for your tickets now. Carlos Delgado leads off the home eighth inning. Mets leading 1-0 and a curveball strike from Carlos Villanueva, who starts his second inning. Carlos went 0 for 3 against the Brewers starter, Giovanni Gallardo, who turned in 6 scoreless innings before the Mets scratched down a run against Villanueva in the 7th. Goes to the backstop. That run, by the way, despite the error by Weeks, is scored an earned run because of the way the inning developed after the error. And the Brewers, playing their 11th game of the season, have not allowed an unearned run yet this season. Mets once had a year, 1999, they allowed only 20 unearned runs the whole year.
Wow.
That's a record. Flied out into right center. Hart moving over to make the backhand catch. One away.
Was that the Ray Ordonez, John Olerud time? Alfonso?
The Sports Illustrated cover, best infield ever.
Wow.
Question mark. But maybe it was.
Who was the second baseman?
Alfonso second, Ventura third.
Ventura third. Yeah, Ventura was great. Steady. Had that big glove he used to use at third base.
One out. Here's Beltran, a broken bat single to right, his last time up in the 6th. Looking ahead to the 9th inning, heart of the batting order for Milwaukee, Braun, Fielder, and Hardy. So it would certainly behoove the Mets to get some insurance here in the 8th. 1-1 to Beltran. And Frankie Rodriguez getting ready for the aforementioned ninth inning. One, and Beltran takes high, 2-1. JJ puts a dominating top of the eighth.
It's as good of a split finger I've seen in a long, long time.
It's quite a luxury to have an elite closer pitching your eighth innings.
It's elite closer, and I think also what's great about it is when these strong arms now with Parnell and Puts setting up Mr. Rodriguez, is that now you've got some pitchers that when they're on, they take the hitters out of the game. Like they can't even put the ball in play where something bad can happen.
2-2 to Beltran. Grounded to second base, and Weeks gets in front of it. 2 out. Well, it's a formula that, you go back to the Nasty Boys with the Reds in 1990. When you get pitchers who can dominate the last 3 innings of a game, it completely changes the nature of the way the other team has to play.
It's like having the New York Giant football team there in the late in the 90s where they reduced the game almost by half. You take those last 3 innings out of play. I remember the team I thought that had really good late game pitching other than Nasty Boys was Dwayne Ward, Mike Timlin, and Tom Hankey for those championship Blue Jay teams. They were pretty good too.
Here's Sheffield. 0 for 2, was hit by a pitch his last time up. Takes a slider low and away. Of course, that first Yankee championship team when they had Rivera sitting up Wetland.
With Stanton in that bullpen too from the left side.
And then later with Jeff Nelson. I mean, they had a lot of guys to run out there in the 7th and 8th ahead of Rivera. So they were able to lock down games late. Rivera's still doing it, but they just don't have those other guys.
Well, you tend to forget as Kendall goes out there. Rivera in those days, he'd go an inning and a third. He'd go 2 innings to set up Wetland.
Yep.
It's the only way to play the game. Your pitch counts are 100 to 110. You see the Lincoln Mercury post-game live with today it'd be Gary Apple and Bobby Ojeda.
Right after we're done here, those guys take over and give you all the analysis and interviews and highlights.
Gary Apple, he can do it all.
Want to notice Sheffield. Villanueva keeping that ball away from him. 2-0. Played some video tributes on the scoreboard today to Sheffield for his 500th home run, including one from his uncle Doc.
Yeah, that's right.
One from Ken Griffey Jr.
Well, in the Mets notes, they have all the pitchers that he's really gotten for a few times. Tommy Glavine, he got 6 times. I don't know if I'm on that list. I want to check. I don't mind if I'm not, as long as I'm not 500 or 400 or 300, but.
Or 1.
1.
I mean, you talked about Barry Bonds. You were number 2.
I was number 2. I gave up number 2. Can you imagine if you give up number 1, your face is all over the TV for a month? I think it was Craig McMurtry gave up the first home run to Barry Bonds.
How about this piece of trivia? Sheffield only the 2nd player to hit his 500th home run against the team for whom he made his major league debut. Jimmy Fox hit his 500th against the Red Sox for the A's in 1940. 2-2, grounded over the mound, but Weeks is right there to play it. So Villanueva throws a 1-2-3 8th inning to keep it a 1-run game. K-Rod will have to deal with the heart of the Brewers batting order in the 9th. Braun, Fielder, and Hardy, 1-0 New York. Nice, comfortable spring day. You got the grill, and then you got the best pitcher in baseball, and he was that today. 7 scoreless innings for Johan Santana. Some good defense behind him. Scoreless game because Giovanni Gallardo was just as good for his 6 innings, but then in the 7th, 1 error by Ricky Weeks opens the door. 1 glove removal by Jose Reyes, and that's enough to give the Mets a 1-0 lead. And now the bullpen trying to lock it down for Santana as K-Rod comes in. Jeremy Reed into left field to shore up the defense as Sheffield gets the last inning off. And Francisco Rodriguez on to try and bid for his 3rd save of the year.
Well, 2 for 2 in saves in the first 2 games of the season. This will be the first one since then. 7 strikeouts in 4 2/3 innings for Francisco. Doesn't get any tougher than this.
Appeared night before last against San Diego. Struck out the side in the 9th inning in a non-save spot. Now Ryan Braun leads off, and he takes a strike from Frankie, 0-1. Braun is 1 for 3 tonight after hitting his first home run of the year against Livan Hernandez yesterday. And Braun can only wave at that curveball, and it's 0-2. First time around the National League, it's going to be awfully tough for some of these teams to try and figure out the weapons that K-Rod has at his disposal. Fielder and Hardy to follow. 0-2 to Braun. Didn't bite that time on the curve. 1-2.
What makes Rodriguez so tough with that breaking ball is that he knows how to throw it for a strike. He also knows when he's ahead how to throw it in the dirt. He's got 3 pitches, fastball at 94 miles an hour. That's slider curveball really that he throws, just a hard curve, and also a great changeup. And he'll throw any pitch, as we've learned early in this season, on any count at any time.
Ahead on Braun, 1-2. Keeping it away from a dangerous hitter. Got to use the big part of the ballpark at this point in a 1-run game.
Ramiro Santos with the sign. We're going to double up on that changeup.
2-2. Flares 1 foul. J.J. Putz pitched a 1-2-3 8th inning, striking out a pair. And now Frankie Rodriguez trying to put together the second part of the closing duo. This is the part of the game that eluded the Mets so often last year, and the part that they worked so hard to shore up. 2-2. Line the other way, a base hit for Braun to lead off the 9th inning. Nice job of hitting by Braun, taking Rodriguez to right field, and now the tying run aboard with nobody out.
You see Frankie shaking his head, probably questioning his pitch selection. Nice job by Braun. Once he got 2 strikes, I think he was just thinking of hitting the ball the other way.
So now Braun at first, and here comes Fielder. 1 for 3, single to right in the 4th, lined out to left his last time up in the 6th. And Fielder bounces the first pitch foul. The only 3 Brewers who've ever faced Francisco Rodriguez before: Mike Cameron, Craig Counsell, Jason Kendall. That's it. All these other young Milwaukee players have never seen him in a regular season game. Might have seen him in a spring training game pitching for the Angels out in Arizona.
Spring training is April in the big leagues.
Oh, 0-1 to Fielder. Swing and a miss at the changeup, and it's 0-2.
Well, starting off with a breaking ball, this changeup right on the outside corner with outstanding movement. Fools fielder.
'62 saves last year, looking for his third of this season. The Mets have not won a 1-0 game since June of 2007. They went all of last year without winning a 1-0 game. A head-on fielder, 0-2. Struck him out. K-Rod gets Briggs fielder, 1 down in the ninth.
Well, fielder with that big swing, trying to put the Brewers up top, but just the outstanding placement of that changeup. Not only where it was, and also the speed differential fooled fielder.
So now J.J. Hardy with 1 out and 1 on. Hardy is 0 for 3, hit one to the warning track in center field back in the 4th, and Braun goes diving back in.
Well, watch where Santos wants this pitch. He wants it down. If you're going to error below the mark. Just beautiful pitching by Rodriguez.
Rio TV pitch differential. I believe that's the first time we've used that for a swing and miss.
That's right.
Now Hardy takes a strike. 93-mile-an-hour fastball. Hardy with a man on in the 4th inning. Chase Beltran almost back to the wall in distant left center. It's about as hard a hit ball as the Brewers had today against Santana. K-Rod misses with a curveball, and it's 1-1. K-Rod keeping an eye on Braun, who every once in a while will try and swipe one.
We were pretty impressed, though, with Omir Santos' arm in spring training.
Braun had 14 steals last year, 2 so far this year. 1-1 to J.J. Hardy. And the curveball misses, 2-1. He's a max effort guy, and he has a tendency, despite 62 saves last year, to be an edge of your seat guy. Two and one. There goes Braun. Hardy swings and fouls it off.
Boy, Braun had that stolen. He picked the right pitch. Picked the curveball from Rodriguez, got a good jump. Look at that, almost 5 steps. He's got it. But you know what? It's hard to take that pitch for your Hardy. You got to swing the bat. Could have found the hole.
Now K-Rod's worked it to 2-2. Low and away. Missed with the fastball, and it's 3-2 to Hardy. Now what do you do here if you're Ken Macha? You're going to send Braun 3-2, 1 out?
If you do, it could be strike him out, throw him out. But the thing on your side is Rodriguez just threw a fastball. Doubt if he'll throw 2 in a row. So yeah, I would send him, thinking that you're going to get a breaking pitch from Rodriguez.
He runs the 3-2, grounded foul. Just over the bag, but just outside the line. And Wright fires it back to Frankie Rodriguez as Braun returns to first.
One way we've seen of attacking Hardy, and you might be able to get a strike him out, throw him, is a high fastball up in the strike zone. Gives Santos a good pitch to throw on.
Tough to hit, tough to lay off. Braun running, 3-2. Breaking ball, strike 3 called. Santos throw on the money. He got him, and the ball game is over. Strike him out, throw him out, double play to end it. K-Rod saves it for Santana, and the Mets have a 1-0 victory. Their second straight over the Brewers.